of it. Thanks for doing this. Let me turn this up here.
Thanks for having me on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're a little bit quiet, but let me correct. Oh, no, I got you. This is the first time I've tried to use these headphones here.
Fancy.
Yeah, I can hear you real clear. How's it going there, man?
Good. It's it's been raining, but other than that, it's things are going well. Can't complain. How about you? How's Memphis?
Yeah, it's Memphis.
Yeah.
I haven't seen outside the little, tenth of an acre we have here. I don't really leave the house. Oop, these headphones are going to be a detriment here today. Well, man, thanks for joining me. Again, there's zero format to this thing.
Cool.
I just sort of start off and just shoot the shit about a few things that interest me, and then there were a lot of questions from your fans. You have a lot of fans, and they have a lot of questions. We can jump to those. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. You know that I have a huge gap in my knowledge as far as music goes from the 2000s. And if I'm being honest, it actually goes from like 95 to like 2010. There's a lot of, I was working in that era, and I was drunk. I was drunk a lot. But as far as some of the where your music came from, I had to go back, because I didn't know your music very well until we met, until we became friends, and so I know a lot of the newer stuff. So for me, there was like it was like Jawbreaker, Promise Ring, Sunny Day Real Estate in that era, and then I just go completely AWOL for a long time, and so I probably focused on some of the newer stuff, but something that's always interested me about your music, when I finally got off my ass and got into it, there's things that I've never been a part of with my writing that interest me. Like collaborative with a band,
Yeah.
But there's something that strikes me immediately that a lot of bands don't have, and it's sort of the way you and John pass off vocals and stuff like that. That it opens up a lot of potential, and you use it in really interesting ways with a dialectic in the songs. Sometimes you're almost singing, like you're a couple. You're acting out. Yeah, you're acting out scenarios and stuff like that, and then sometimes it's reinforcing themes. I know that y'all just do a lot with that, and that's struck me, immediately as like, oh man, there's so much to be done with that, and there's not a lot of bands that get it that chance. So, I guess the question is, how do you approach that when you're writing, or is it something that you get the idea of the song and then you're like, this is how this will work with that?
Well, it's kind of. The idea of it started because, like at first, we didn't want there to be like a front man in the band, So we figured one way to kind of approach that would be to switch back and forth like that. And then like John, he was like going around and playing coffee shops and stuff like that. So it just kind of worked out that way, because I was the bass player in the band at first, and then when our original singer left and I started singing, we figured let's make the both or the most of this, and also I didn't really know how to sing all that well, so I needed some reinforcement.
You're crazy.
So yeah, that's kind of how that started. That and like a lot of the, we were all big fans of hot water music, and there's this band called Digger that would do that a lot and things like that. So that also kind of, and like at the drive-in would do that, though not as much. And those were like big. Some of our favorite bands, so I think we were just kind of taking the ball and running.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. Someone just asked if I could turn my voice down or yours up. I don't know how to control these things. Yeah. Crank yourself down.
Okay. Is that any better?
I don't know. Let's ask them. How's the balance? Okay. I can also take these damn things out. This was just like a new thing.
I have like a floating microphone here. I was gonna set up the other one, but this is the only way I could figure out how to do it and still have headphones on.
Oh yeah, I got you clear. You're clear in here now. Cool. Thank y'all for the help. I appreciate it. That's the whole point of like only having my buddies on here. Is like I am gonna have someone next week that I have only done gigs with, and we were label mates. But so far, I'm only having people I know because I don't want to subject anybody to this bullshit that I don't know.
You have to be honest. I've been watching these shows, so it's really strange to actually be interacting with my phone screen right now because normally I'm just like walking around the house like listening, you know. So this is putting clothes on. Putting clothes on is a different thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So how many? This is just from me, you know, because I'm a guitar player and things like that. And I know you started bass and stuff. But how many of your songs, like I hear, like you know, they obviously go really big or whatever, but a lot of them seem like they start with riffs. Yeah. Like, are you a riff writer?
Well, I mean, I like to think so. I guess that would depend on who you ask. But one of the things I love so much about being in Taking Back Sunday is everyone writes, you know.
Yeah.
To where I like think sometime kind of in the like in the middle, like if you look from like when we started to where we are now, like somewhere in the middle of there, like there was like a period of like everyone's kind of ego getting involved. So, but now that that's out of the way, it's pretty great because when we go into the studio, you know, like parts or riffs and things like that could come from anybody, and it makes for a, you know, like kind of makes for a smoother time in the studio, you know, because everybody has just like a wellspring of ideas.
Yeah, that's interesting to mention in the studio. How equipped are you when you go in? You sound like you might be doing some on the floor. Or do you have like skeletons, or do you go in?
Well, we started like with the last record. We started to just like write in the studio. So
makes me nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah, right. I have a buddy that has a place in Charlotte called Suzu Studios, and then so we went there, and then so basically we found out that it worked so well for us because then we can like try something out and immediately listen back to it rather than running it and or like arguing circles about it. So so when we go in there, actually like right before, you know, the world fell apart, we were there, and then just seeing, like, throwing everything at the wall and seeing what stuck, you know.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I just have zero experience with it. You know, I write them fully, arrange them fully in my head, and then I get, you know, because I do hired guns. I don't you know, work with a band. And I like to, you know, I'll give it to them at the last minute. And so that's my approximation of it. You know, like we'll get in there and I'll be like, here they are. I'll give them maybe some demos a week ahead, tops. So I like to kind of capture it on the floor like that. But the thing is fully arranged in my head, you know, and written out and all that stuff. Like going in and having that freedom to write also seems like a tightrope, and it just scares the shit out of me when I hear people do it.
Well, for us too. I mean, like it's. I like it because things change up until the last minute. You know, like you could come in with an idea and it sounds one way, and then you demo it, and then it becomes this new thing, and then like it's changing up until the point to where it's like, all right, we have 3 days, we just have to be done now, and so that's at least how it went with the last one.
Cool. Something else that interests me is coming from, like, you know, I'm from Memphis, and I started music, and I had no, you know, there's no scene, you know, in Memphis. Like, I came right after a lot of the garage punk, the 90s, like the Bolivians, Compulsive Gamblers, that would later go on and be, you know, the Hives and the Strokes. They, you know, they would look back at that, but that was later. It wasn't going on simultaneous. And like you were making, you're making your own music, you're just doing your thing, but it was seen by a lot of people in context of, there was a scene going on. And so, when you're writing and working in such a scene that is happening and popping off all over the country and the world, I guess, mainly the country.
Let's keep our sights.
Hadn't hit Japan just yet. But that's just interesting to me. Is that the pros and cons of that, or do you, when you're writing and you're seeing, that it's going to be put in a context that maybe is not exactly, where you are, and also the good side of it, having all these contemporaries working in something that is established as a thing. I don't know.
Well, it's for us, I think over the years, we've definitely been kind of pigeonholed, but for me, I don't really care what anybody wants to call it, so long as they're listening. Because I know what I think we are, but somebody else could call it something different. It's
you're rock and roll, right? I mean, you're probably your rock band. It's just that's
exactly what I think. Yeah,
So, that's sort of where I was going with that. I'm like, you're making your music, and to a lot of people, it's seen in a context, and
right.
that can be detrimental, and also could give it some juice. That's I didn't know how you dealt with it at the time, or
when we first started, I mean, the scene that was going on was extremely important. Those were our people. That was our community, and so we would always be bouncing ideas off of one another, and I think at that time it was really good, because you're all playing the same shows and going to the same shows, so it's everyone is being influenced by one another, and I just remember it really helping to push us to work harder, so anyways, that's still a big part of us, but moving forward, there's nothing feels good about being a grown man and someone oh, you're that guy from the emo band. It's fuck you, man. Look.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, and there's the thing. It's sometimes that's an interesting thing to me. That's always I've done shows with Caraba, who's a friend now,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And I've done shows, and I'd be doing these shows, and it would be so many kids, and it's been so many years later, and it's just sort of there's re-upping of the connection, but the whole crowd is really diverse age-wise, so it comes with people, so there's some people that might have the nostalgia thing, but the stuff is still connecting to so many people, so that always interests. I mean, for instance, when I mentioned you were doing the show, my wife, who doesn't get excited about anything, started screaming the lyrics to "You're So Last Summer."
Man, really?
Yeah, I mean, and we had I love it, and because it's so fun to see, because she's so even and chill, and she was super stoked. I was like, hell yeah, we have a 10-year difference in our ages, my wife and I. So I was like, there was my drunk decade,
Oh yeah,
when it was firing off for her.
You had to wait. Why don't I remember that again? Oh,
yeah. I don't know if there's a question in there. Other than
that's honestly one of the things that I'm really, I think all of us are really proud of, is just that, when you go to a show, the age range is anywhere from teenager to mid 40s and everywhere in between. And I think to be able to, to bring people together in one spot and all be getting lost to the same thing when they're all in such different stages in our lives. I mean, some of them are in their drunk decade, some of them are past that, and some of them are coming up on it, but to have them all be getting lost to the same thing at the same time, that's I mean, that's what fellowship is,
Yeah. And do you find I can hear it in the writing. The approach, actually, someone asked this. We can just loop it in. Wishful Thinker asks, has the approach to the songwriting changed over years? Which, obviously, out of necessity, it does. You change,
Yeah.
but are there concrete examples?
There's like when we started, we would basically get in a room, and it would be like, all right, does anybody have anything? And somebody would be like, oh, well, I have this part here, and then we'd work on that, and then it definitely changed over the years, but now that's basically what we do again, because that's just what works. Like, out of all the things we've tried, that's what works best, and we've kind of got to a point where, like, if we're working on an idea that someone has and it's just not going anywhere, then like moving on to the next thing, trying to maximize that time, and so, but yeah, there's no big thing. Basically, we go in, we get the music figured out, and then I have like a series of panic attacks trying to not police myself too much while writing, like, my end of things. And then we record and hope everything goes well. That's our process.
That's the thing. I give sort of lessons here and there, which is, how do you talk about songwriting, and how do you give lessons, but the one thing that I can help people with is killing that person, the thing that the first guy in your head. That guy is such a fucker. That guy that's comes in.
Struggle with that more. Like, there's times to where I'll be so frustrated with that person that I'll just be like on the verge of tears. And like still, like, even like earlier today, I'm like working on things. You just want to throw the guitar. It's like, forget it. I'm gonna go to a trade school, learn how to do something different because I'm no good at this kind of thing.
Yeah, that guy, I mean, he's the worst. He's the fucking worst. And he won't die. He won't die.
No.
He keeps coming back. But, you gotta get him out of the way, man. That guy that says you're not the person to say this, or you haven't had the right experience, or or everything you say is just asinine, that guy.
How do you do that? Like, I'm thinking all the times we've talked, or like this hasn't come up, because if you, I'm really curious how you deal with that.
I acknowledge that he's in the room, and I separate him. I'm always, I'm sort of not me when I'm writing. I'm always much more interested in things that I find and stumble across than things that I plant in there. And
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Yeah, like, I don't sit down with, I'm going to write about this,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so...
It's the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. That's the more the incense-smelling way to say that. So that helps me in that I'm not... I'm starting off not exercising my will, and, and so I'm free-floating. So when I see him, he's at such a stark contrast to what I'm trying to do. And I see him walk right in the room, and I'm just like, I'm like, you again.
It's like, I need you to get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, so most people I know that give a shit about what they do, they have that person, Some people, it doesn't bother some people. Some people are just, maybe they think everything they do is genius. I don't know.
Those are, anytime I've met a person like that, I haven't wanted to be around them too much.
Yeah. And I haven't met a lot of people like that. I've been really lucky with doing this for so long. I had only been on a couple tours or met a few people. I was just like, yeah, move it along. Most people that I've met, they have a passion for this thing and, a compulsion. That's what I always, when anybody ever asks me, they're like, what's some good advice? I'm like, do anything else unless you have to do this. Find anything else you got. So what I like about your stuff, sorry, I'm just all over the place as always.
No, man, I'm good.
What I think about your your thing, there's Okay, so your songwriting strikes me a lot of the things that there's this powerful disconnect between communicating things that are essentially still and insular and introverted, vulnerability, these private sort of things, and then it seems like to me, because I know you and your personality, and you're so chill and even and that it seems. Yeah, it depends what day it is. But it seems like almost to exercise those things, as in The Exorcist, not lifting weights. To exercise them.
Yeah, like exorcise, not exercise.
There you go. Yeah. It seems like you double down with the extroverted, you're a fucking madman when you perform. And and the songs themselves, seems like they double down in more extroverted things. Like when I think of anthemic stuff, it's essentially an extroverted music. Even the skips and the leaps and things like that, just the arrangements and the things like that in the songs. It seems like it's just almost an inverse of the insular stuff. Is that it?
Well, it's interesting because everyone in the band, I think, is very much like that. So then when we go to approach or like recording or performing, it's like everyone just like a switch flips, and like I think for all of us, it's just like this. It's this catharsis, because you get to go and get lost, and there's and for someone that's like. Or like speaking for myself, like someone that's not real good with like dealing with my feelings, it's like that's the outlet, that's where it all goes,
Yeah. There's always there's a background that you work against as just a dude too. I mean, there's the stereotypical idea of masculinity, that every dude has to work with, and that seems to be at the forefront of a lot of the music. And where I'm from, in the South, things like that, it's very, very stoic, very closed off. And the Irishness is, you're closed off until you're pissed, and then that's your felt.
And then you just disappear from the room eventually.
Oh yeah, the disappearing, I do that all the time. Yeah. I might do it here on the if you see me slowly. But that's the thing that seems like you in your songwriting you face head on and almost put it at the forefront. And again, to be some people from the outside context could be that's what emo is, or something like that. But that's such a lazy comparison. I think that so many types of music for a white cis male, but you are working against the backdrop of masculinity and stereotypes of masculinity, and I think that's a powerful. Does it enter your mind when you're writing, or is this just an innate thing, extension of your personality?
I think that's one of the things that comes out when it's time to like. You're like sitting there with the pen, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna write, so, and then I think also for John too, because we share that in the band, and I think it's just kind of like dealing with what's like, or like it's our way of processing kind of what's expected of us, and then how we actually feel about that, like, because even for me, it also growing up in the South, like I know that thing you're talking about, like you're stoic, you're a rock, you go to work and you come home and don't talk to your family or have feelings.
Hunt and gather, baby.
Yeah. And there's something that I was surprised to learn when I moved to New York and that John had experienced a lot of that too, and like a lot of that pressure as well. So then I just think it's something that comes out. It's never like it's like kind of what you were saying earlier about how you don't sit down like okay, I'm gonna write a song about rainbows and bubblegum today, and then it's just you sit down and get going, and then it makes its way onto the page.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why essentially just this show is preposterous. To be talking about something that is so many times just like an innate thing or a feeling in the dark thing. But I don't have any social life. I want to see my friends.
Yeah.
What's the? I only know it as a Tom Waits quote, but like half of Tom Waits quotes are him doing a bit on somebody else. But he said talking about music's like dancing about architecture, which could easily be somebody else's quote. But sorry, go ahead.
My favorite Tom Waits quote is a gentleman is a man who can play the accordion but doesn't.
Yeah. You want to sit in a room with him and just hear him,
Let me tell you.
What's the one in? He's sitting in the. Somebody said they're like, I love this Tom Waits quotes from the movie Big Time. He's sitting in the limo, and they ask him, what's important to him. And he's like, I love to hear the lamentations of the women, which is a quote. It's a quote from Conan the Barbarian.
Oh,
but the way he delivers it, it's just like, oh, that's of course that's what Tom Waits would say. It's Conan. So getting back to brass tacks of, do you have a set process? I see you've got that's Shure, man. That's the Thriller mic, right?
The SM7B. It's a tank. Well, because that's the one that I typically use here at home. Because also it's like super directional, so then like all the other things that are going on, I don't have to worry about it so much.
Yeah, that's the one so many people use in the control room, where you can stand in front of the monitors. And
the Bono thing we were talking about the other night. Yeah.
So that's what I was getting at with process. Like, are you when you're hammering things out, do you have like the keyboard hooked up? Are you singing into things, and do you work it out with the music? Or are you sitting down pen and paper and working out the lyrics? I know that's the ubiquitous lyrics or music first question when there's not really an answer to that. But do you have a set way? Yeah. It was a delicious omelet either way.
Yeah. No, it really varies. I mean, like lately, like if I'm working on stuff that comes out, and then I'm like, okay, the band, there's no way they're just not gonna like this, so I'm gonna put that in the back for me. And if I'm working on something like that, typically I'll just kind of like fiddle around on a guitar until something catches my ear, and then just kind of go from there and mumble through it. I saw there. I forget the name of the documentary, but it was like Paul McCartney, and I probably saw it when I was like in my early 20s, and he's sitting at a piano, and they ask him, oh, well, how did you write a song? And he's like, well, I sit here, and I just start touching the keys until I find something that sounds pleasing, and then I start making noises with my mouth until that sounds pleasing, and then I have a song, and not only was it hilarious, but it also, it really struck something with me, so that's the way, if it's something more for myself that I'll do. But then with the band stuff, normally what'll happen is we'll already have a rough demo recorded, so I'll have that playing, and then just kind of have a guitar and a little MIDI controller, and then just keep trying things until something works, basically.
Yeah, just real intuitive process.
Yeah. Or I like to have my hands on it. I thought it was really interesting how you were saying that you don't write with a guitar, and then that's that just really surprised me. Just because of how dynamic you are with the guitar, I would think that would play a big role in constructing a song.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, it's something I figured out about halfway through. I figured it out about 7 or 8 years ago. Just that I write better melodies when I don't have my guitar. When I write with my hands, my guitar wants to do the same thing. It thinks it knows a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, look at this shit, and I'm like, that shit is bullshit. You know, I'm like,
Yeah,
but
like,
you know,
yeah.
yeah. But our ears, you know, they've been trained to be better songwriters than our brains. The thing, you know, we've been listening to music since nursery rhymes, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, and knowing how those things work, knowing where there's power in that, and repetition, and tension, and release, and setting expectation with a parallelism, and then pulling that expectation, knowing how to fuck with that. That's brain stuff, but that's editor stuff. You know? That's all
that's not the heart stuff that needs to or like the substance.
Yeah. How do you edit? Are you a X-Acto blade guy? Are you a machete guy?
Like, what do you mean? Do you mean like from recording, or just from the writing process? The
writing of it, when you go in, or like, because I'm a get down in there. Every fucking syllable that is unnecessary or doesn't develop characters gotta go.
It's now that I think about it, like, I think that's like a case by case basis. You know, like, there's some things that like I'll spend so much time on just these tiny little details, or trying to find that like one right word, you know. So I'll have a song that just won't be done for 3 months, and then one day, you know, you're driving in the car and it's like turquoise. That's the word I choose, or whatever it is. You know,
it's a good fucking word.
So it'd be hard to fit in. Well, anyway, so I guess certain songs require that surgical touch, and then the other ones, you know, it's like you know what I do a lot is, like, through like the self-policing, is I'll have like 3 different versions of what could possibly fit into the song. You know, like, there was, like, I remember when we were doing our self-titled record, there was a song on there, and there were like 3 or 4 different complete versions, with the music staying the same, but like the lyrics and the melody were different for each one, and then finally we just picked one. But yeah,
this is my jam. This is the kind of stuff I like. So you're an overwriter. I do that too.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to get it wrong, and then it's like Bob Dylan said, you know, like, the song's never done, so then it's like, you know, like, you get going on one thing, and then, like, you take a day away and you look at it, it's like, oh, well, this is a different song. Wait, but they both work, so let's just try to fit it all in there. That's where the kind of dual vocal thing helps a lot in that situation too, because if you can't fit all the words, you just have 2 guys do them and they overlap.
I can see that. I can hear that in the music too. Yeah, because it does. There's a lot of different facets that will be, you know, you'll be hitting the chord. By the way, we'll talk about your hooks in a minute, because y'all's hooks are insane, like fucking meat hooks. But the verses and things like that. One of the most difficult things about songs is making that chorus sound different the second time, without saying anything different, but just hitting it different from a different angle in the verse, approaching it. And it seems like you do that a lot, and the writing different scenarios and sort of, you know, maybe mixing those and having all these angles. That seems like that might be a key to that. I don't know. Is it something you consciously go, like, you know, here's my story. I'm not going to approach my story as A, B, A, B. I'm going to hit it at A, B, fucking J75, B. You know, like the angles of the verses. Yeah.
You know, it's like you've been saying, it's hard to really, like, I think, to verbally express, like, yes, this is exactly how I approach it.
Of course, yeah.
But like a lot of this, like a lot of the stuff, because it's just, even just from the music we grew up listening to, you know, like, that's like just kind of a theme that runs through, I think, all of our favorite songs, you know. So so in one way, we're just doing what we learned from our heroes, you know, and then in another way, we're just trying to keep it interesting for ourselves, and then hope that it's interesting for other people too. I don't know really how to answer that question.
No, again, yeah. I mean, that really is. No, it's fine. I completely get you. You're doing right now how I would be doing on the other end of one of these conversations. It's like I just do it. It just happens, and there's a thing to that, and that has to be protected. You start to overthink the shit, and then it's how much theory do you know? Because you were talking about McCartney, for instance, and how he's sort of feeling the things out. I mean, he is, but he's being a little coy with that statement because
100%,
because he's like so steeped and not even the song like Yesterday, whatever. It's the hook in that is da da da. It's a rhythmic hook, and then he turns it into a melodic hook. Da 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 da, and then he changes it and elongates the da 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 da. He stretches that hook out. And lyrically, he was singing fucking scrambled eggs for a long time as a placeholder for that. Scrambled eggs. I would like some fucking scrambled. Yeah, I read that somewhere. Like forever. Yesterday, I hear it as scrambled eggs now.
I don't think I'll ever listen to that song the same.
but writing hooks like you do, how, again, is that innate? Or are you using I'm going to do inversion here. I'm going to extend the melody, or is
it no, man. I've been diving into more of the theory in my kind of adult years, and I'm honestly a bit embarrassed that I don't know more theory. I know my way around, but there's like a definite the bridge is out sign at like a certain point. But that's what I spend most of my time doing, especially now. When we, in the beginning, it was just kind of just trying to come up with something that sounded right to us, and then now it's kind of to answer your question, I wish that I could approach it more musically, but it's just I just kind of stumble into it. And
well, fuck that, man. Whatever you're doing works. We'll go do some softballs here from some of your fans here. Some easy questions here.
Oh, man, I'm sweating over here.
Sorry, I got into the totally vagaries of Buff Daddy Combs wanted to know. Remember that Americana album you were thinking about?
I've been
again to talk in genres that don't actually exist.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, it'll mainly be, or most of the things that are just mine. They just kind of they're acoustic songs, and so I guess they lend themselves to that. But I'm always working on it. But this is where the policing thing comes in, because I'm so accustomed to working with the other guys in the band that and they're such a huge help that when it comes to things that are just mine, I have a lot of fear surrounding that and that just all of that, and it's that's some I've been trying to work through, and then what we were saying earlier, how do you get that guy out of the room?
Yeah.
But so anyways, always working on it, and it's been helpful because then just kind of as I've been learning more on the audio and the engineering, and then I have things to practice. So I'm really good at miking an acoustic guitar, probably the best. You have to teach me. All I do is just point it.
I just point it where the neck meets the body. I don't know how to mic an acoustic other than that.
I'm not the best at it. That's the main thing that I put a microphone to. That's just what I was saying.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're not micing any didgeridoos.
No, unfortunately. Though I think my cousin has one of those. He has all kinds of strange instruments like that. I
kind of want to work some of those on a record one day. I thought some of the weirder stuff. I tend to to reach for the standards.
Oh, let's say. Well, no. You stretch your limbs from time to time.
I do have bagpipes on one song, but yeah. No Living Hero wanted to know where did the name. I can't even read my writing now, but Mickey Sasser and Steve Balboni Ride Again come from. What was the story about that? And will you ever record it?
It was a B-side, and it needed a name, and Mark and our drummer Mark, Sean and John, our bass player and guitar player, they're real big baseball fans, and then I guess they were, I don't know if like one of them played on the Yankees and one of them played on the Mets, or if they both played on the Mets. I don't know much about it, but they were talking about it one day, and we thought it'd be funny, and we had a deadline, so we're like, oh, just call it that, and then that's how that song got its name.
Nice, and I didn't even know. I played baseball for 8 years, and I didn't know it.
Yeah, there was one point like months later to where they had to remind me who those guys were.
Nice. Oh, there's just some guys that did some drywall for my house.
Yeah, it's like they are great, cheap. They get the job done fast.
Mike Clear wanted to ask, Morning Sickness from the El Paso demos, sort of how that eventually became the hook to You Got Me. Did that?
Well, we that song needed a bridge, and I knew we weren't going to be using the Morning Sickness song, so but they were kind of like loosely about the same thing, but when you took the line out of Morning Sickness and put it into You Got Me, it just kind of brought it made You Got Me feel heavier, like it had more weight to it, and we all like that, so that's why that happened.
All right. Yeah. I like sometimes when there are like Easter eggs that are intercontextual from bands' work. The referencing a lot of things outside of the music that happens a lot because we're in a total information age and everything is mixtape. But I like it when a band references its own stuff. Sometimes that's fun. Salacia Art wanted to know, and we'll just close on this softball here. If you had, you have a dream lineup for other musicians for a different side project, and I'm assuming this person means dead or alive.
Oh man, that's that's.
Maybe just piece together a 3-piece band. We don't have to think too much about it.
3-piece band. Well, you got John Bonham on drums, and then you got James Jamerson on the bass.
Oh yeah.
And then either one of the Beatles, not Ringo in this case, just because I would rather have him on the drums.
Gotta get George.
George, yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Man, I was. Do you have that Beatles songbook?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the.
This Beatles songbook.
The Bible, yeah.
It's so good, except it's written in microfiche. Tiny.
My version isn't like that. Mine is just like
what?
Yeah, like it just has the words and like chord charts.
Oh yeah, no, this one is the one that goes. I mean, this got the drum music, the bass tab. Yeah, it's called the complete scores. Oh, it's the best thing ever. It's so good. When I want to look at arrangements and stuff, I go back in here and you got George Martin string arrangements in here. This is literally this is the Bible. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
This thing's great, but it's fucking tiny.
Yeah. Pull out your spectacles.
Yeah. Well, because it's each it'll be like 2 bars fit on a page when you get into like Strawberry Fields Forever or something like that. Because there's so much instrumentation, so you got like 8 beats on this page, 8 beats on the next page.
Sorry, I got sidetracked because then when you said that, I started to think, so then if you're going through and you read, So anyways, no, the thing I was gonna say was I was like, I've been going through that book. I just keep it downstairs, so when I go outside, you know, I'll grab it from time to time. And some of those chord changes and like just it's like even on some of the George Harrison songs is just like like I just want to know like what those guys like what was going on, you know, like what. Like, when does your mind work in a way to where you get to a point that's like, oh, yeah, how about we just add this crazy thing that 2 people in the world have ever heard of, and then and we'll, you know, put a really simple melody over it, and everybody will love it forever.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, they were just so versed in everything that was happening, and they were just, you know, sponges, and so like they you know, they didn't start off with all that, you know. Yeah. They were just absorb. But then where they were able to take it on so many little slippery fucking things. Yeah, it's really cool. Like what you understand, like diatonic harmony and things that are innate to like Western music or whatever. You're like, oh, there's all these gaps in that. Like, where if I go down this rabbit hole, you know? Yeah. It's like,
I'll be over here for the next 2 weeks if you need me.
It's so good. I saw a lot of people asking, what's your favorite Beatles song? Since we're on the topic,
Let It Be.
It's a good one.
There's two, like I've seen a few interviews to where Paul McCartney talks about like how that song came to him in a dream, you know, and there's just something about that that's real romantic to me, and I wish that would happen to me. So I think that makes me like the song even more, you know.
That's funny. Funnily enough, I heard an interview where he was. It was a Paul Simon interview, and they were asking about Sound of Silence and stuff like that. And no, it wasn't Sound of Silence. It was Bridge Over Troubled Water, which he talks about. It's just gospel based. It's just gospel thing based.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then I was talking to Paul McCartney. He's like, oh, you know my song Let It Be. He's like, I heard Bridge Over Troubled Water, and he's like, I was sort of inspired to write a gospel-y type tune. So I love it. Paul's just fucking bullshit.
Yeah. See, and that's why I love that guy. Because there's 10 different answers for everything.
They're both great stories.
But in my mind, it came to him in a dream. So
yeah.
I'm just going to leave it. Like, I'm going to believe that. I'm going to choose to believe that.
That's a great one. We've entered the promotion part of the show. What do you got coming up in the box? I know you've been doing some stuff to benefit, like some of your crew and things like that, some live shows and stuff like that. Do you have anything like that coming up, or anything at all?
We just started doing this thing to where like people can go and then make like personal messages for people and things like that. I'm just sitting outside with a guitar, and I basically just talk to my camera, and then I send it to you, and then all the money we raise from that goes directly to our crew, because there's no work for the foreseeable future. And then I'm working on live stream stuff. I finally got the audio figured out, so now it's.
I know we've been talking about that nightmare. Finally figured out. Oh, yeah. For people that are doing it, give them your solution. I mean, it's not an ad for this particular thing, but you did find a solution.
Yeah, because I used the Apollo stuff, but it was like if you
got
use
it right back there, yeah.
Like OBS or if you're going into your phone like this, there was no way to get the audio like out of Pro Tools into the phone or into OBS, you know. So I found this thing, this iRig Pro Duo thing, and it's amazing because you just take basically the headphone out the headphone out into like a Y cable, and then pop it in there, and then this plugs right to your phone or your computer or whatever. So anyways, they were IK Multimedia is the company, and they were nice enough to send it over. And when it worked, I wanted to just like, you know, it was one of those moments I want to just run out of the house screaming and just take to the streets, you know, because I was like, finally I figured this out, because I probably spent like this whole time trying to figure that out.
Yeah, we went down the nightmare
too, but
yeah, my last live show I figured out. The crazy workaround was I'm going through my Apollo and things like that, and I put the phone. I just used the phone. I found that it was fine if I put it way back here on a stand, and then I'm over here with the mic. But to do that, to get it up to levels that are good, then I can use the slapback and the reverb and stuff. The phone's just picking up those computer speakers, but I had to put pillows in front of those to channel the sound. I was just so like rigging it up like Pee Wee Herman eating breakfast. You know, it's like
that's a good one. Like you sent me a picture of that, and then to see like just you could see like a stand, your phone, like a ring light, and then 2 pillows that were just kind of making like a barrier wall. And I just thought, I'm like, see, that is innovation right there. That's, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to get one of those things and just be done with it. Man, I appreciate you taking the time. That was rad.
Thank you for having me, man.
I can't wait to see you and the family again next time I cut through, or you holler if you come through Memphis.
Yeah.
Have some pasta.
It'd be wonderful. Are you inviting me over for dinner?
Out anytime.
Thanks, Cory.
She's making a sick bolognese right now. I'm about to go destroy it.
Dope.
So yeah, as far as promotion on this end, I don't have any live shows coming up, but I've got the Quarantunes records that are available on the site. They're just home recording.
Fantastic too. You did a great job at this.
Well, thank you. It's been fun. Well, we've been talking recording stuff off this, and that's a whole other thing we'll have. And then next week, since it's the 10th one, I've only been doing buddies, but next week I'm going to have Robbie Fulks on, who I love. He's just fantastic. Just such a good writer, and so I'm going to have him on, even though we're not old buddies. I've done a few shows with him, so he is generously agreed to hang with this lo-fi bullshit and shoot shit. So it'll be great to have Robbie on next week, and then that's all I've got going on. So thank you, Adam.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to next week. That's what I've been doing on Wednesdays, so it gives me something to do.
Fallon, Brian Fallon's got a good one going on too. That's sort of after this, and I think Laura Jane.
At home.
I think Laura Jane Grace is on.
Tonight. She is. Yeah.
Yeah, which will be rad.
I'm gonna go watch that right.
I'm doing the same.
So you got Bolognese, Brian Fallon, and Laura Jane Grace, and I'm gonna do that too without the Bolognese, just so I don't check the news and freak out.
Oh God, I gotta have the coffee before the news. Yeah. It's fucked. It's fucked. We're fucked. All right. Anyway,
nobody's in charge.
Ah!
All right. Cool.
Love you, brother.
Man.
Cheers.